This is the Corvette Z06, a car America claims is a match for any hardcore sports car Europe has to offer. It's a car for here and a car for here. It takes inspiration from this and it's a rival to this. So let's go and put all of that together. Exciting, huh? And yet here I am about to walk slowly around the car and tell you stuff. Not exciting, so look, I'll do you a deal and get this over and done with as quick as I can. Styling first. It's a bit my first supercar if you ask me, but you can make your own mind up about that, and I'll move on and tell you about some changes over the regular C8 Corvette, which, don't forget, is the first ever mid-engine Corvette. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail because we've made another film on the Z06 that went into detail about everything. So here's a quick skate around. We have wider front suspension. Nearly 100mm of width has been added to the car. Overhauled suspension, new front wings and vast 3, 4, 5 width rear tyres. And that's quite enough of that. I need to tell you about the engine because the 5.5 litre LT6 in the back of this is the most powerful naturally aspirated production engine ever. Did you spot the faux pas there? Yeah, should have included the word V8, the most powerful naturally aspirated production V8 in the world ever. Now, I'd love to be able to show it to you, but you can't see it under the back deck of this convertible version. But it is impressive. It revs to 8,600, has sodium-filled exhaust valves, titanium intake valves and titanium conrods, and forged aluminium pistons. In short, it's a race engine that has been powering the C8R since 2019. But when was the last time anyone did a high-revving naturally aspirated V8 in a supercar? That's right, the Ferrari 458 back in 2009. That's 14 years ago. We thought non-forced induction V8s were a thing of the past. Not so, says Corvette. Think we'd better go and see what it's like. So what are we dealing with here? Well, in the most obvious terms possible, it's 670 horsepower at 8,400 RPM. And I don't care what you say, that is an enormous amount of power. It's more potent than the McLaren F1's V12. It's a mega engine, but you've got to have it in the right mode because it likes to get ramped up into things, and there's a little Z button here that allows you to select your mode. So let's get it all popped up, engine sound and all the rest of it. Let's go for manual gears. And I'm just going to slow down and just run it up because it's really quite a special thing. Right, ready? Go. Now it starts to go. Just such a brilliant heave of power all the way through to 8,500 RPM. It's properly exciting. But it's not as ferocious as a genuine race engine. It's quite nicely damped. There's not much vibration from it. They've sort of been slightly chamfered off at the edges. But I think that's good because it actually blends very well with the rest of the car because you get the same response from the steering, from the brakes. There's a little bit of filtering that's gone on just to make everything consistent and also less intimidating and aggressive to drive. But I'm really impressed with it. Once you turn it into a corner, and it is really good around corners, you turn it in and it takes up a very crisp, precise feel. And it rides well too. And it's so amazing in this day and age to just be having a naturally aspirated V8 to work with. I do want to talk about this interior though, because Although the dynamics of the car are really successful, there's a lot in here that's just a bit awkward. You sit too high for a start. I just cannot get the seat low enough. And it's quite a big, plush, plump seat. It's actually reasonably supportive though. I don't have too much of an issue with that. I do have much more of an issue with the square steering wheel. It's just stupid and really annoying, and you just don't hold it properly. But it's an interesting car because it doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of compromise in it. It's got this very exciting engine, and yet you've still got a boot in the front, another boot in the back. You've got comfortable seats, you've got cup holders, and you've got a lot of toys to play with. Most of them in this bizarre column all the way down here that runs your heating and your heated seats and all the rest of it. There's just a lot of toys. Even the boot's electric closing, so they could have saved a bit of weight here. But that's not what this car is about. If you want that, you want your Z06 with the Z07 pack. I'm going to move on to the modes because they're actually quite well governed. And what I really like about them is everything you change in the car makes a really big difference to the way it behaves. Right, if I'm going to play with the manual gears, because then I can show you what the torque and everything's like, because it's not an engine, despite what you imagine an American V8 to be like and have it all its torque low down. This is not one of those. This one needs to spool up and get some proper revs on the clock. It likes to be up above 4,500. That's where it does its best work. Low down, a bit like a race engine, it is actually a little bit drony, that noise. And it's only, look, you get the revs up a bit, and then you get the noise, you get the drama, you just want to keep going and going and going and going. I think the best way to put it is that it's a massive step on from the regular Corvette and feels like a real, genuine sports car. This is a mighty thing. But right now, a little bit of an interlude. You see, we're getting all excited about a new V8 that develops 122 horsepower per litre, which is a lot. However, 14 years ago, the engine in this developed 125 horsepower per litre. It's the naturally aspirated 4.5 litre, 562 horsepower V8 in the Ferrari 458. It won the International Engine of the Year award 4 times. Let's go and see what it's like. Corvette have been very open in admitting they dismantled and reverse engineered the 458's motor during development of the Z06. It's a high accolade. So the Corvette may have the bigger, more powerful motor, but to be an all-time great, it's got to be as scaldingly responsive, vibrant and alive as this. And this, oh, I'd forgotten just what an astonishing engine this is. The throttle is always there. It's like you come out of corners and you touch it and it's going, come on, we're off, get on me, so to speak. I don't know why you need more speed than this. I reckon this is probably because it weighs a lot less than the Corvette. Just as quick, 562 horsepower, lightweight, reactive steering. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, maybe I'd go for steering that was a hair slower, but it's more exciting to drive than the Corvette. Still got that wonderful mechanical feel to it, but a little bit of enhancement to it, that sort of feeling that it's almost a caricature of itself. But just driving down this road, it's just wonderful. I think the 458 is going to go down as one of the all-time great Ferraris. Not the 360 or 430 that came before it, nor the 488 or F8 that came after it. It's this car with its naturally aspirated engine, the gorgeous styling and the wonderful chassis dynamics. It's just the absolute sweet spot. Oh, Ferrari, why did you ever give this up? Why did you go chasing power figures? Why does everyone do that? Why is there that need? I'd rather drive this than anything else, anything hybrid or turbocharged. No, just give me an engine that is microscopically responsive to your foot. Just want to carry on driving this for a very, very long time. There's just one thing wrong with the Ferrari 458, no manual gearbox.
Which brings us on to this. You see, the GT3 is that rarest of things these days, a highly tuned, naturally aspirated car that's available with a manual gearbox. Porsche tried to ditch the manual from its GT cars, but, well, people still want to waggle that lever around, so it staged something of a comeback. But maybe that's not so surprising when it's helping you access such an epic engine. A 4-litre flat 6 developing 503 horsepower at 8,400 RPM. Yes, that's 170 horsepower down on the Corvette, but don't forget it has considerably less weight to shift, like a quarter of a tonne less. I appreciate you've had to wait a while for the GT3 to appear in this story, but in reality, I'd already spent a lot of time with it.
But this isn't Phoenix. That unprepossessing building behind me is actually Singer's headquarters, and we were here yesterday doing another film with them. But right now, I've got to drive 400 miles to Phoenix in a GT3. Lucky me. But this is what I love about 911s, right? They are so practical. Look under here. Look, we've got a drone, loads of camera kit, and a massive flight bag in there. And then behind the seats, because this one hasn't got a cage, we've got loads of room for the rest of the gear. So we've come about 2 hours out of LA, and the GT3 has been quite GT3-ish so far. The ride is firm, and American interstates are not well surfaced. They're concrete, and that creates a lot of road noise. But the scenery has been way more spectacular than you might expect driving out of LA. There's high mountains with snow on them, and now we've come up into the sort of desert plain after Palm Springs. And then we noticed a little sign. Well, we've got to go and have an explore, haven't we? Joshua Tree National Park. Always wanted to come here, but so far I haven't seen any of those special trees that it's famous for. But it is a massive park, and well, the vistas are spectacular. It's just everything's so big and so far away. There's huge skies and these wonderful mountain ranges and stuff just tucked off into the distance. What a place to come to, but probably not the best place to test the GT3 because there's 45-mile-an-hour speed limits, there's rangers around, there's actually quite a bit of traffic, and as you can probably see behind me, I've got a load of luggage, and if I get a bit excitable, that's going to start sloshing around the cabin. And besides, there's not very many corners. But still, what a special thing to be driving through this landscape, because it's just such a clean, natural, exact car to operate. You know, having a manual gear lever, how good's that? And the steering, there's just no slack in it. And so you just sort of sit back, cruise through it, and just soak in the views. It just feels so cool to be driving a proper European sports car a long way through America. And speaking of that, we've actually got quite a long way to go still to get to Phoenix, like, I don't know, another couple of 100 miles at least. So we better crack on.
And on we went. And aside from an interlude to watch a magical sunset on a remote road, the kind of stuff that makes road trips so special and memorable, the Porsche munched through miles. Yes, you sit upright and it's far from relaxing, but you're always aware you're driving something special. Something of real mechanical strength and depth.
That Porsche and Corvette have managed to get these astonishing motors through legislation is remarkable. Yes, you get more power with turbos and hybrids, but I'd rather the sound and drama of natural aspiration any day of the week. We need to embrace it while we still can. The Ferrari 458, well, that was here not only as a benchmark for the Corvette, but a totem to engine purity. It's a landmark motor, and even today, I would argue it has the most exciting, visceral engine here. Now, I could spend hours disseminating these three cars, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bid the 458 a fond farewell. It's a precious thing and doesn't deserve the indignity of what's to follow. It gets to bow out gracefully. I'm taking this grudge match to a track.
Our chosen venue, Arizona Motorsports Park, whose back straight runs alongside the runway at Luke Air Force Base, home of the 56th Fighter Wing and a place that trains the world's F-35 pilots.
On track in the GT3 then. Proper car on a proper circuit. This is bewildering though. You drive down the main straight here and you've got like F-35s and F-22s coming into land next to you. It's insane. I'm tucking into this tighter corner here. Oh look, that front to rear balance is just exceptional. That's why we love this thing. It's just got really good torque. Really good torque. I think it does that better than the Corvette actually. Oh, just running it up through the gears. Look at these high-speed direction changes here. You can do it with a bit of brake, trail of brake in, and it's just good. That's what it is. Oh, it's just so good and tight down here. Yes. Just listen to that engine. It's absolutely brilliant. Even today, it still demands a certain level of knowledge, experience, and patience with it to really get the best from it, but it's worryingly good. Right, so I've got to go in the Porsche. Let's go and see what the Corvette's like on track. I suspect it's going to feel a little heavier, but it's got wider tyres to give you more grip. 3 4.5s on the back, 2 7.5s on the front. So they're 20mm wider at the front than the Porsche, 30mm wider at the back. It's got a lot of grip. It's got a lot of grip. Off we go. Wow, that's genuinely very fast. I feel like I'm a bit like I'm preaching to you from a bar stool because you sit so high in the thing. That engine feels bloody thunderous. I didn't think it was that noisy when I drove it on the road, but out here, wow, that feels loud. Doesn't feel quite as sort of organic and engaging as the Porsche. You just don't quite have the steering feedback from it, nor the grip from the seats. And you notice that, to be fair, you really do. Now, I should point out the Z06 is not a downforce car particularly. This has about, no, it's under 200 kilos of downforce, but at 186 miles an hour. If you go for the Z07 pack, which brings you Cup 2R tyres and bigger carbon brakes and a big rear wing, you double that downforce, but it's still not a huge amount. It's nothing like a GT3 RS develops. So it doesn't have quite the same communication skills as the Porsche, But the brakes, I'm impressed with these brakes though. 370mm front discs, and they are doing a good job. But it's just this rate of acceleration. I mean, this engine is absolutely bloody phenomenal. We would be unkind of us to say that Americans don't know how to do a good chassis, because this is a good chassis. Down the fast back straight, it is 10 miles an hour faster than the GT3. And it just, look at it go! Look at it go! Good car! I'm impressed, Corvette. You have built a good sports car. I've been looking for a way to sum up these two cars, and I've found one. It's the steering wheels. The Porsche's is firm, the Corvette's has some squidge in it, and those characteristics run through the entire dynamics of each car. The Corvette has had its edges buffed smooth. That doesn't make it a worse car, it just means it takes a slightly gentler approach to life.
Personally, I would have the Porsche. I prefer its more hardcore characteristics. But if we'd had a Z06 with the Z07 pack, I'm not sure I'd call it that way. On Pilot Sport tyres, it did remarkably well on track. I suspect Cup 2Rs and carbon brakes would have made it a real force to be reckoned with, and would have handily reduced the weight. Corvette is a bit cagey on kilos, but this convertible must weigh well over 1700 kg.
But as it is, this is still a hugely capable, genuinely engaging and very charismatic road car. A better road car than the Porsche, in fact. Now, I do have some issues around the seats, the driving position, the stupidly shaped steering wheel and the heavy-handed styling. But despite that, this can still hold its head high alongside anything Europe has to offer, and I mean that. It is a terrific supercar. Now, Corvette has just announced the E-Ray, a 655 horsepower hybrid version of the Corvette. I know we need to look to the future, but I can't help feeling that if we fast forward 10 years and look back, that car will likely be forgotten, and it will be this and its thunderous naturally aspirated V8 that we never forget.